It's not the cross you carry, it's how you carry it. I read that a little while ago, and I connected with that very deeply. It's also how you choose to carry it, right? When I was asked to talk about overcoming adversity, I thought, I've never done that before, but I guess I could do it, right? So I started thinking about different words, and forgiveness, faith, grace, mercy, purpose, community, love, gratitude, control, fear, and capacity came to my mind. I was 31 when I married Staff Sergeant Michael Harrison Simpson. He made me laugh like no one could. Our children do that. And actually, they're here today, Michael and Gabriel, and this is the first time they've actually ever heard me speak. So I'm a little nervous. I'm overcoming that as well. Mike graduated the Special Forces Qualification course in 2011, and he followed in his father and his brother's footsteps. They're both retired now, Green Berets, and he was so excited, which is why he was nicknamed the Unquiet Professional, because he would tell everybody. He would wake up in the morning, how does it feel to be married to a big bad Green Beret? He would say it to me. The baby's crying and the trash needs to be taken out. I'll tell you after you do that. In his career, he did amazing things, as you can see. Scuba diving, riding elephants, doing all sorts of fun stuff all over the world, freeing the oppressed, training with other militaries around the world. And we were so proud of him. And he was also an incredible husband and father. He was funny, he was patient, he was kind, he was compassionate, and very photogenic. And to me, he was something that I had never even imagined I deserved. This note was written on my stainless steel refrigerator that I thought wasn't going to come off, so I panicked a little bit at first. But he said, I love you. You are my compass, the thing that guides me home. You are my North Star, the one constant in my life. I look to you for direction, and the family you have given me is my most prized possession. All my love, Michael. And he put this 2 weeks before he would deploy to Afghanistan with 1st Special Forces Group, 4th Battalion, Charlie Company. He loved his team, and he was so excited to be out there with them. And April 6th, they deployed to Eastern Afghanistan. He was excited not to go to war, but to build infrastructure and to connect the provinces and to help the people and the communities there. On April 26th, Mike was on his way back from a mission. He left me an incredible voicemail the day he was injured, and he said that he couldn't wait to come home to our beautiful family. Days after, we traveled to Germany after Mike was injured, and he came home about a week later to Dover as a dignified transfer with 7 other brave men on that plane. And this is when I really got a good dose of adversity. And I had to start overcoming that, right? Community is so important. And in this picture, you'll see almost 100 people following me. I didn't realize it until I saw the pictures after. But Mike sacrificed his life for our great nation, and over 100 people came to support us. This isn't it. From the moment that he was injured, the Green Beret Foundation came to our aid. They helped his siblings fly to Germany so they could be bedside with him and say goodbye. They told us whatever we needed, whenever we needed it, that they would be there. And they were, and they still are. Community is something that I don't think anybody can live without. You can't do it alone, right? You could try. I did try, I think, for a long time. But you can't do it alone. And that's why this community, the Go Ruck community, is so important. You connect with people that are the same or different. You share experiences, similar experiences, and you're able to come together and enjoy each other's company and realize that you're not alone in the adversities that you might be facing. On this day, the Unquiet Professional was born as well. Of course, we named it that. It's an organization that we founded to give back because the community was so good to us that I thought a thank you note just wasn't enough. So what else am I going to do but start my own organization? Please don't do that. That's a whole nother talk and a whole nother adversity to face. But I can assure you, we're grateful we have it, but it wasn't easy. Those are probably the hardest moments when my children received their own flag, when reality set in. I thought to myself, honestly, in that moment, if I give it back, will this not be real? If I give the flag back, will he just come back? Clearly, that wasn't an option. But in that moment, I also realized that my kids couldn't lose me too, right? They lost their dad. They would get through it, but they couldn't lose me too. And so I put on a happy face. As you can see, most of the pictures I look like I'm at a wedding, not a funeral. It's a little strange, but I felt like I had to pull it together, compartmentalize, and move forward. So this dinosaur that Michael has in his hand, he came over to me and said, Mommy, I dropped my dinosaur in a hole. I mean, we're in Arlington National Cemetery. I mean, who knows what hole he dropped it into. But all I could think of was, don't go looking for it. Please don't go find it. And we met with my casualty assistance officer on our way here this weekend. And what I didn't know when I shared what we were doing this weekend, and I reminded him of this picture because that's him taking a knee in the background holding Michael's flag. What he didn't tell me then, and 9 years later, because I'm open to it, he said to me, I wonder if Michael ever told you our conversation. And Michael didn't remember either because he was 3. He walked over to Jerry and he said, do you think it's okay if I leave Daddy a dinosaur? So this dinosaur is honored by hundreds of thousands of people every year in Arlington National Cemetery. Don't forget to visit it when you're there. Collective grief, right? What do you do when something happens and the people that you turn to are grieving as well? Sometimes you feel like you have to keep it to yourself. Sometimes you talk about it and you get frustrated. Well, you move forward, but you realize that everybody is grieving differently, and not one is greater or less than the other. I could never imagine what it's like to have a teammate, a brother, a sister pass away, to fight next to them and know that this is the reality and that tomorrow it could be me. I couldn't imagine that. I also, when I think about Mike's family, I couldn't imagine, I'm an only child, so I can't imagine losing a sibling, but I also could never imagine losing my son. So competing for grief, I would urge you not to do that because it doesn't really do anybody any good. This was my hard reality. I compartmentalized for a long time. I ran a half marathon. So at this point, it was about, I think 7 miles in. So I was tired. I was sore. I was hungry. So maybe that's why I'm crying. But I had made it to Mike's poster on the Wear Blue Run to Remember mile. And as I ran through the Wear Blue mile, I called out the names of everybody that I saw on those posters. And then all of a sudden I said, Staff Sergeant Michael H. Simpson. I was like, wow, he belongs to me. And that's when reality set in. That's when I broke open. And that's when I was able to start healing. I'll skip forward to my twice in a lifetime. Master Sergeant Gus Anderson, he was Mike's teammate. I judged me too, it's okay. And he is a gift from God. He doesn't tell us that we can't love them both. He allows us to love them both. We're a little dark in our household sometimes. He says, well, there's nothing I have to worry about. It's not like he's going to walk back through the door and ask for your hand in marriage back, right? He is, I have 2 heroes in life. I've been blessed. After we got married, Gus left a month later for Afghanistan, of course, right? What else would happen? So within a couple of weeks, we got married and we planned our funeral, of course, and then he deployed. Preparation, I think we talked about that. That's important to me, is planning for the unexpected, right? Preparing for the worst, praying for the best. That's kind of how we try and live our life and how I try and teach others. Because when you face things that you're afraid of, when you take that fear away, you can move forward with a little bit less anxiety if you understand or you can visualize what's on the other side of it. I, of course, could visualize what was on the other side of this deployment, possibly. And I also gave myself some grace. And I realized that sometimes you just need to close yourself off. Join your community when you can, but give yourself time to rest. So Gus came home and we continued to honor and remember those that had gone before us. And, my kids are so blessed. And they'll tell you they have a daddy in heaven and a daddy on earth. And it is such a gift. And when you have that perspective, I think it's easy to overcome. So I have a great gift to be able to serve others, right? Serve something bigger than ourselves. It heals me. I get to be an advocate, not only work with the Green Beret Foundation as a board member and a Gold Star and Surviving Family Liaison and walk people through those dark times, but I get to then advocate for them on the Army Survivor Advisory Working Group and also under the Secretary of Defense's working group as well. I do it for them, all 3 of them. I do it for my husbands, both of them, to carry on Mike's legacy. The service makes me, and we've heard that today as well, it makes me a better servant of God, a better wife, mother, daughter, friend. I'm happy to say my husband retired after 22 years in the Army. I had waited for this moment for a long time. And, Gus, his service and sacrifice, I see daily. 22 years, 17 of those as a Green Beret, 11 combat deployments, and lost many, many friends. And then he serves us. And that is very present. The loss and the gift and the blessings are very present in our house every day. I never thought that I would see a retirement picture, but we did. So when we talk about community, this is something that the boys and I were a part of last month, and the Force Blue, which is something that the Green Beret Foundation is going to support in the future. I got to go down there with Michael and Gabriel and share in that adventure with them. But you'll see how incredible, and you'll see that Go Rock was a sponsor as well. So you'll see the incredible gift of everyone coming together who had a common adversity in life. These are all Gold Star and surviving children of military. And then there are veterans that came together to serve them. And at the end, they got their junior open water dive certification, but they got way more than that. They got confidence. They made friends. They realized that they weren't alone in this life and in this journey. And they were able to look up to people that were strong warriors, but had kind and compassionate hearts. And that, to me, is important. When we're not afraid to face the pain, this picture is so special to me because you have my husband in there, and then you have their company commander and their company sergeant major and his wife and us. And this was the first time that they had been to Arlington National Cemetery. And what Tony Bell said when he walked up and saw Mike's grave, he said, "This is the biggest failure of my life." That was the hardest thing for me to hear, because this right here was the greatest gift of my life. I want to share with you a little something that is the reason why I'm with the Green Beret Foundation. I'm that, kind of touchy-feely kind of person, and I want to get into how everybody feels. And so I asked our board one day when we were in person, not virtually, because they could have just hung up on me, but what drives you? And this is what I got. And now understand, Jason McCarthy, the founder of Go Rock, also serves on the Green Beret Foundation board. And I got back to bring hope and healing because war has made me a better person. I give back because I owe that. Because I owe everything to the military. Because I swore if we ever put soldiers in harm's way again, I would fight to make sure they were not treated like we were. Because I could have done more. I never want to make that mistake again. Because I've been there, suffered, and I want to make sure our people know they are not alone. It is our duty to serve and make the world a better place. For Darren, I promised I would take care of his brothers. For Jeremy, I know he would be proud. Our village is so strong and so mighty that I know that no matter what happens to me in the future, my children will be taken care of, that we will carry on the legacy of Mike and all those who have gone before us. And I believe it's because we're worth it, because you're worth it. People ask me if I were to go back and I were to know what I know now, would I change things? I would not. That blissful ignorance is helpful though, right? I would not change anything. I mean, every day I wish Mike was here, but I know that the gift that he gave us all is because we are all worth it. So this is my beautiful life. I will turn their mourning into joy. I will bring happiness out of their grief. No truer words have been said. And, Mike, 5 days before he was injured, sent an email to my father because it just happened to be right after the Boston Marathon bombing. And he wanted to give some comfort to him. He was in Afghanistan. My father was very shaken. He was 200 yards away from the bomb, and but felt like he could have done more or should have done more. And his words were so comforting. He talked about, don't compartmentalize. Your wife wants to nurture you. Your friends might not understand. Never forget that you will never forget that day for the rest of your life, and things that used to be trivial won't be anymore. And he gave such sound advice that I read that email constantly. And that is why I get to stand here in front of you today with a full journey as a military spouse. And even though devastation is definitely a part of that journey, tragedy is a part of that journey, I stand before you grateful and honored to be the wife of 2 Green Berets, 2 brave men who have served and sacrificed differently, but definitely have served and sacrificed. The mother of 2 godly, kind, and compassionate little boys. And once a wise man said, let us always honor and remember the men and women that have gone before us, but never forget those who have dared to die and survived. So what is your cross, and how will you carry it? Thank you.